In today's show, I'm here to talk to Shawn Coleman of Locked On Grizzlies about Memphis's very impressive start to the NBA season. It's all coming up. Stay tuned. Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Locked On NBA. I'm your Monday host, Josh Lloyd. You can also find my other channel, Locked On Fantasy Basketball, right here on YouTube. Just search Locked On Fantasy Basketball or click the link in the description. The NBA season, we are almost a week in, and there's been huge performances, big surprises, disappointments right across the board. We're going to talk to Shawn Coleman of Locked On Grizzlies about the start from Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies and how good they have looked in their first two games of the season. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Have you heard about PrizePicks? PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I know you are going to love this. PrizePicks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. PrizePicks offers more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator and offers all of the superstar players as well as the bench players, only recording a handful of minutes each game. PrizePicks offers any prop you can imagine: blocks, points, assists, threes, rebounds, whatever it is. PrizePicks has it covered for you. All users that deposit and use the promo code NBA will also receive a 100% instant match deposit up to $100. You pick 2 to 5 players, you get their over-unders on their props, combine them together, and you can win up to 10 times your entry. And you can also do it across sports: football, basketball, baseball, hockey. Combine them all, whatever you need on PrizePicks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less, and PrizePicks offers safe and fast withdrawals. So don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com and use the promo code NBA, or go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device to watch your favorite sports. You've got another one to watch your favorite shows. You've got highlights that you watch on your phone, and then you've got someone else's login to watch the other good stuff. It's all just too much. There's too much stuff going on. I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love together in one place without the hassle. A great way to finally get your TV together. It is called Direct TV Streaming. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before. So you can watch your favorite shows, sports, and TV shows, and movies, in fact, all together in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there is no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with Direct TV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required, and content varies by package. All right, so let's bring him in now. The host of the Locked On Grizzlies podcast, Shawn Coleman, is here with me. Shawn, the Memphis Grizzlies are off to a red-hot start. We're recording this just after they knock off the Clippers over in Staples Center. Of course, they've got a back-to-back. They're playing Sunday against the Lakers. They are absolutely rolling. Where do you want to start? Ja Morant?
Let's start with Ja Morant. The great thing is, one of the biggest reasons why they're rolling, Josh, there's so many different angles and players you can go with. That's why they're rolling.
Yeah, exactly. Ja Morant has really, I don't know if is dominated the right word. Like, he's been at another level to where he was last season. He looks more like he was those first two games of last season before the ankle injury, but he seems to have turned it up to a new level this year, and he's really taken these games over. We were a bit cautious about the Grizzlies in the preseason with some of the moves they made. They just consolidate and they're not pushing, but they look better than they did last season, and I think Ja's a big part of that.
Yeah, and I think that you're getting the spacing there a little bit more, especially with how they're utilizing Steven Adams. Not necessarily saying that he's creating the spacing himself, obviously not with his shooting, or so much with his passing, though his passing has been great. But the three-point shooting, the Grizzlies have made 14 threes and 15 threes in their first two games. So there are lanes for Ja Morant to get into and to get into consistently. His three-point shot's coming along, but overall, the craftiness that's there with Ja Morant, it seems like every 40 or so games that he plays into his career, there's a new level of just smarts, IQ, craftiness when it comes to, his ability, his resourcefulness as a scorer when he gets into the lane. And it just really, really helps. That helps subside a bit the fact that his shot still is a work in progress. But overall, just the consistency that he has of being able to hit shots no matter what he faces when he gets to the rim. It's at another level, as you mentioned.
Well, I guess it really helps when you got a guy like Jaren Jackson out there who's just taking long-range shots continually. And you didn't have him all of last regular season, basically. And Grizzlies fans might get upset at this, but when you're playing De'Anthony Melton and Desmond Bane a ton of minutes, a lot of good things are going to happen. And that has sort of come to fruition because Dillon Brooks is out, and they've minimized Kyle Anderson. Now, I know a lot of Grizz fans love Dillon Brooks, but to me, using Bane and Melton in this way has been the optimal strategy for this team for the last couple of years. We are seeing it forced into action through absence. and it's really paying off. So it's not just being carried by Ja Morant. You're getting Adams doing his thing, Jackson's doing his thing, and then these guys who, honestly, there are plenty of people in the NBA world who will say De'Anthony Melton, who's that? And there are other sections who will say De'Anthony Melton's like a top 50 impact player in the NBA. Like, this is the impact these guys are having, and we're starting to see, well, everyone else is starting to see this impact that a lot of Grizzlies fans, Shawn, already knew.
Absolutely. And the thing is that you're right. It's the impact. Instead of being in short spurts or it being so infrequent due to injury in the case of Jaren Jackson Jr., an undefined, featured role like De'Anthony Melton, these guys are getting those roles. Jaren Jackson Jr. and De'Anthony Melton are probably, in my opinion, the best two-way impact players that you really have when you're on the court when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies. And I mean by defensive and offensive, obviously Ja Morant has the highest offensive ceiling, but the three-point shooting aspect that both of them have shown. Jaren Jackson Jr. 2 years ago, De'Anthony Melton last year. Now the Grizzlies can get that shooting added to their defense. They help out in so many ways, but the biggest thing is allowing for both of them to be in featured roles with their shooting and sustainable shooting there to support Ja, Steven Adams, Desmond Bane, and others. It's a great combination to really work with when it comes to the Grizzlies and Ja.
What's been the biggest surprise to you so far for this team?
It's the offensive consistency. That really has been the biggest surprise for me in terms of the fact that they've been able to, in variety of different ways, show balance. In the first game, it was the ability to score in the paint early, come back with the threes, and then be able to go in and out when they needed to in the second half to hold off the Cavaliers. Against the Clippers, it was the balance that was there for the starters. Our bench did not contribute that much. We had all of our starters, I believe, over 15 points in tonight's game. It was the ability to hold off the surges of a very good Clippers team and get the win. It's the offensive consistency and offensive balance that I thought it was going to take a little bit longer to get consistent going into the season, but it certainly has shined through early on.
Yeah, you're right. Like Steven Adams, the lowest scoring starter, had 17 points. He's the only starter who didn't take 10 field goal attempts. He took 9. Yeah, just a bunch of even contributions right across the board. Everyone hit multiple threes apart from Adams, those other 4 starters. So just having that ability right across the board with multiple players being able to do multiple different things and defend and shoot and space and pass. I think it's a really, really good mix that they've got going on at the moment. And yeah, I've been critical of Taylor Jenkins in the past, but he's also done some really positive things. And I think the way that he's been flexible here, like last season we saw someone like Xavier Tillman move into the starting lineup and play pretty well. But now they said, well, we've got different things we want to do. And Tillman's not even playing. Like, we're going to play Kyle Anderson exclusively as a 4. Brandon Clark's going to get backup center minutes. So if this makes more sense for us, sorry, like, Xavier did a great job, but you need to sit down for a bit. And we're going to put other guys in and we're going to go wing heavy. We're going to try and space it out more. And it's working at a really high level.
Absolutely, and that's the thing that has allowed for the Grizzlies to be able to take advantage of their young guys being healthy. As you mentioned, Xavier Tillman was wonderful last year. He still is wonderful, obviously, and his time will come when he'll be needed because injuries obviously are a thing that every team's going to run into. But the one thing that's there this year, Josh, for the Grizzlies, with them having their health here, is they're able to play the guys with the highest ceiling out there, and that's what their focus is. That was what they were betting on coming into the season. If they were going to go all in on their young core, they wanted to see it through with the guys who are offering the highest ceiling. I think the Clarks and the Zairs and the Meltons obviously should get the benefit of the doubt over a Tillman. And obviously that becomes, even more, it's going to be interesting to see how things work out when Dillon Brooks is back. But these guys who have a bit higher ceiling, the consistency you get with Xavier Tillman, but I think there's a bit higher ceiling with guys like Zaire and Brandon Clark and Melton, at least either now or in time. And that's why they're getting the nods ahead of Xavier Tillman. And it's exciting to see that all these guys are healthy and productive finally after a few seasons of not having that core all together.
So what do you think happens when Dillon Brooks returns? Because you talk about your overall upside. I don't think Brooks necessarily has that high-level upside, and when he is in the game, he does tend to, at times, hijack the offense and take shots that are perhaps ill-advised. Defensively, he can be really aggressive out there, but finding that right role. Will Jenkins be just like, no, we really, you are player 3 in this starting lineup, and you need to get in there alongside Ja and Jaren and be that starter? Will he be like, well, things are rolling pretty well, can you just play a 25-minute bench role? How do you see, what's Brooks's, I guess, organizational equity to fit back in and adjust to how things are going at the moment?
as awesome as things were tonight, Josh, you did see the key aspect that was missing that is there with Dillon Brooks. With Dillon Brooks being out, the Grizzlies didn't really have an answer to in any way, shape, or form stop Paul George. I know that you can't stop Paul George, but at least contain him. That's what Brooks will be asked to do once he comes back. Now you add that wing stop defender who could take on the other team's really good opposing scorer. That just adds another level to this defense that'll complement the free-flowing offense. And I get you love what you're seeing with Desmond Bane and De'Anthony Melton, but I think the Grizzlies will be fine with welcoming Brooks back, with Jaren back in the lineup. Have Brooks take maybe less shots, but more high percentage shots from three. That was a focus of his offseason. And then the great thing about it is, Josh, is that once he's back, you can mix and match. You can go with Bane and Melton at times. You can go with Brooks and Bane, Brooks and Melton, what have you at different times. But I certainly do think that the ability for Brooks to take on that assignment of being a very good defender against the opposition's best scorer, that's an added element this team really needs to take that next step. So I think, yes, you'll still see him in a starting and featured role in that needed aspect of the game for the Grizzlies, being their top perimeter defender.
Well, it's been awesome to see Memphis start off this way. And of course, everything Grizzlies related, Shawn, you'll have it covered for us all over on the Locked On Grizzlies podcast. Thanks for coming on Locked On NBA with me.
Always a pleasure, Josh. Have a great day, sir.